Hey, welcome back. If you are just tuning in, I want to fill you in what we did the first half of our radio show. We were going to do a Q&A about fat. So we had a list of approximately 25 questions that we were going to attempt to answer. We got through exactly one. We are chatty Cathy's today, which is good. That's why we get on here and do this, because we love to talk. We answered solidly one question. So we have now made it our goal to answer two, but we've got a lot more on standby in case we are not quite as thorough.
Get on a roll.
So I want to start with this one because this is also a really common question that we get. So I feel like there still is some confusion about this out there. So I want to make sure that we clarify it in any way that we can. Is meeting your fat goals daily more important than meeting your protein goals?
Oh, that is a good question.
I thought you'd like that.
Yeah. So the way we like to talk about it in our 21-day challenge, and just as we help people along the way, is so there are three main macros or food kind of sources. So you've got carbs, you've got protein, and you've got your fats. So today we're focusing on the fats, but the other two are important as well. So we like to think of carbs as a limit. So for the keto lifestyle, usually, just a general rule, 20 net carbs or under, that's considered appropriately keto. That's low enough to be keto. So carbs are a limit. You really don't want to go above your limit. Now your particular limit might be a little bit different if you're using an app of some sort to track it or a formula. So, because that's dependent on your weight and your age and all those different factors. But so you think of those as a limit. You really don't want to go over those. You want to keep those pretty low. We like to think of protein as a goal. Protein is something that's very important. We want to preserve and protect our lean muscle mass, especially as we get older, because one of the side effects of traditional aging is that your muscle mass tends to decline. We don't want it to decline. We want to protect it. We even want to build muscle, right? So you want to try to hit your protein goal. Whatever your formula is, you really want to try to hit that, okay? So it's important to actually make that, not under, not over, but hit it. Sometimes people kind of go like one direction and they go a little bit over. They're like, ooh, if some protein is good, more protein is better. Well, not necessarily, because your body, if you get too much protein at once, can actually break that down and treat it as if it were glucose, sugar, or carbs. So think about like a bullseye and trying to hit that protein mark. And then the last one, which is our focus for today, is fat. Fat is not something that you necessarily have to hit, but it's a lever. Fat is something that really can help you keep you feeling full. So you're not snacking all the time. You're not going into your pantry. You're not hitting the vending machine at work. It can help you like feel full, but it's something that is very high in calories, right? So a gram of fat is a lot of calories. So a little can go a long way. And so we say to use that as a lever. And those of you just listening to on the radio show, I'm moving my hands back and forth.
I know. I'm sad for everyone that does not get to see the way that Rebecca broke it down with her hands makes it so much more clear.
But it's a lever. Like some days you might feel a little bit hungrier. Okay, maybe go like toward that goal or toward that limit on your fat. And then some days maybe you're not as hungry, so you can back off on the fat.
All right. So a couple of things that I want to add there. Number one, we do have an awesome graphic showing this that I think will help you to kind of visualize it, that we will share in the comments below. The other thing that I wanted to share is, I just forgot, but it was super important.
Have you had your fat today, Bridget? I don't think you're fueling your brain. She told me on the way, because she was in a hurry to grab something, she grabbed something that might have been a less than ideal choice. So that could be why
it was
you're
actually,
not firing on all cylinders.
Chicken salad. So it was actually not a bad choice at all. It just, my stomach was kind of making some weird noises. So I was like, maybe I shouldn't have eaten that. And like, literally, it was in a baggie. Chicken salad out of a baggie with a plastic fork on the way here, guys. Well, shoot, I had a really great thought.
Anyway, so back to the question. Read the question again. Let's make sure we're done, and then we can move on.
This is where it's bad that we're not doing editing now anymore. It's just straight live, real life.
You want to limit your carbs. Carbs are a limit. Protein is a goal. You want to hit that. Fat is a lever, so you can adapt that depending on how hungry you feel on any given day.
All right. Is meeting your fat goals daily more important than your protein goals? I think you rocked it. Okay.
Nailed it.
Well, we'll just move on to the next question then. So this is something that I have shared fairly often. We like to kind of differentiate between keto and low carb because those are really very different things. And I think sometimes people use them interchangeably. So we kind of want to talk about what the actual difference is here. So this is a question asking about something that I have shared a lot, is that if you want to really make sure that you are staying low carb, you want to stay below 1/3 of your body weight, but that is in grams. So in carbs. So basically, like an example of that would be if you weighed 150 pounds, you would want to be low carb. You would want to make sure that you are staying below 50 net carbs per day. So you just take your weight, divide it by 3, and that's how many net carb grams you want to stay under. I can remember back to, my mom growing up, she would, diet like most of us moms do. And I remember when she was doing low carb and she would be very intentional. And for her, she was doing 60. So she would stay below 60 carbs per day is what she tried to make sure. So that is to be low carb. And to be honest, Rebecca and I are very free to say we are not strict keto. We are, Rebecca says, sometimes carb conscious. We are low carb. We add in healthy fats. We drink ketones. We do a lot of intermittent fasting. But for us, a good day might just be staying under 1/3 of our body weight in net carbs and making sure that we add in healthy fats and eat within a small window.
Yeah. So like if you're listening to this and you think, gosh, I've always hated dieting. I'm always hungry. Well, probably because what you've done is you've cut your caloric intake and you're still eating carbs within those calories, but you're not eating any healthy fats. And healthy fat, like we said in the first part of this episode, fat is where it's at. Fat is your friend. That's what's going to keep you feeling full. And that's what is so surprising to so many people who have dieted in other ways in the past. When they come over to the keto world and they're like, oh my goodness, for the first time in 20 years, I'm not hungry all the time. I mean, can you imagine not being hungry all the time?
Or not even thinking about food much at all. It is glorious.
Yeah. And it's so different than how I used to live. I used to be that person that would carry snacks in my purse or my gym bag. I'd stash snacks in my car. When we'd go on long car trips, we'd pack a cooler, we'd pack a bag of like chips and other kinds of snacks. And we'd stop at gas stations to get more snacks and more sodas. Like we were always eating, always. And I, over the summer, went on vacation with my extended family, and a lot of them still eat that way. And it was kind of exhausting. Like they'd get up, they'd make a big breakfast. By the time they cleaned it up, they were already wanting a snack. And then they were thinking about lunch and then, an afternoon snack. And I literally didn't want to eat anything until like 2. And they had eaten like 5 times by then. And I think, not to be judgmental, I mean, that's how I lived most of my life too, but how grateful I am to have my life kind of freed up where it does not revolve around food, where I don't have to plan for and stop my day, stop whatever I'm doing to stop and feed myself. I mean, that in and of itself, even if there were no health benefits, would be worth it to me because time is such a premium.
That's good. All right. You want to say anything else about that one?
No.
Okay. We're getting 3 in. We're doing way better this time. All right. When fasting, now this is under fats, but it's good because we love to talk about fasting. Do you still try to hit all of your calorie macro targets in the app for tracking? Do you just do it in a condensed time frame? So basically, if you are being strict keto and you are tracking everything that you eat and you do fasting, do you take your macros and just make them into a smaller window of time?
Yeah. Now, I don't usually track mine, like Bridget said. I'm kind of keto-ish. But like it is important for you to actually eat real food, right? Sometimes people are so excited at being free from like the control that foods had on them that they kind of almost get addicted to not eating, which is not good. Like
we have seen that.
Yeah. It's a balance, right? You do still need to eat real food. And we do prefer that you eat whole foods and healthy fats. And so just because your eating window is shortened, you still need to get whatever your body needs for the day, right? You need to get that in. Now, that can be really challenging for some people, especially those of you. I know some people that eat in a 1 hour window a day. And I'm thinking of this person in particular who sits down and eats steak and eggs and butter, and like he eats a ton in an hour. That would tear my stomach up to eat that many calories and that much fat in a short amount of time. So it's important to find what works for you. But yeah, like don't get so into the fact that you're fasting that you forget to eat a well-rounded diet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really good. All right, I think we can have time for one more. We are laser focused now. Okay, if I want to lose weight, do you have to follow keto strictly? What if I just count my carbs and do intermittent fasting and walk 3 or 4 times a week? Would that be enough? So here's what I would say. Of course, it varies greatly person to person. But I think for most people, that is a really good goal. And those things alone would make a tremendous difference in having fat loss and just better energy, changing so many things that would start a snowball toward much better health, toward more weight loss. I mean, staying under 20 net carbs is huge. That is actually a really difficult thing to do. If you have never done it, I was thinking when we were answering the last question about tracking, I do think it's important for everyone to track at least occasionally. And it is something that I do some. I'll go seasons where I'm not tracking and then seasons where I am. And I do think it's very important that I just know in my mind about what something is, just to have awareness so that I'm fully aware of what I'm putting in my body when I do. But making those changes, going toward low carb, doing, increasing your exercise, and what was the other thing? Oh, intermittent fasting alone can have powerful benefits toward weight loss. Some people just do that and have really good results.
Yeah. And we always want to help you find your real life keto fit. And your real life keto fit can change throughout your life. For a while, maybe you really want to get into meal prepping and intermittent fasting and like your laser focus. And that's great for a season, but then like it gets kind of crazy town, right? Like I know a lot of my friends are moving their kids back into college dorms and apartments, and it's a busy, stressful time. And other people are kind of gearing up for a school year, which may be modified depending on what is happening with the world and the state of things. So in that stressful kind of time and on the road and busy, maybe meal prep isn't in the cards for you. And maybe you lean a little bit more into fat coffees and intermittent fasting, and you're not really tracking as much and you're not meal prepping as much. Like you got to find what fits in the season that you're in and give yourself grace and know, hey, maybe I'm not really super strict right now, but I can get back on track later and just kind of hold the fort and stay steady. And like Bridget said, making small incremental changes can be huge, because what happens is as your body gets healthier, as you become more fat adapted, as you become less reliant on carbs, you start to make other changes that maybe you didn't even intend to make. Because if you don't eat a carb heavy meal of pasta and bread and soda, maybe after you eat, you do feel like going for a bike ride or you feel like going for a walk. So that's something maybe you didn't plan on doing, but you can do. And then you're sleeping better, so then you don't want to take a nap. It's like having that snowball build in your favor instead of chasing after you
is powerful. We're almost out of time, but I want to add one more thing. Is just what Rebecca just explained was where I was this summer when I knew that I was not being as intentional as I should be. We have been in our apartment for almost a month, and I just cooked for the first time 2 days ago. I mean, it's just I haven't been at the place where I was ready to put time into cooking. But I knew the whole time as I was letting myself have more freedom, I knew like, all right, when I get to this date, things are going to slow down tremendously and I am going to start cooking. And sure enough, I got right back on track with my cooking. I'm starting back with tracking and back with my intermittent fasting, and the meal that I cooked yesterday was really strong keto. But having the freedom to know that I'm able to get back on because I am fat adapted is powerful. Instead of thinking like, oh, this is just I just can't do it. I don't have any willpower. Like it wasn't like that at all. It was giving myself permission to just survive at the last couple of months, knowing that I would have the willpower or the ability to get back on because I knew I would just start feeling bad, and I would be ready to have myself back on track just so that I could feel good, if nothing else. So there's a lot of freedom. Sometimes keto can feel like it is so restrictive that you lose your freedom, but you actually gain a lot of freedom with it.
Yeah. Well, here's a quick analogy. It's like financial planning. Like a lot of people kind of start to tense up if you talk about budgeting and making a plan. Bridget's pointing to herself. But the thing is that can actually provide more freedom for you to actually go after things that are truly important to you. So if you want to save for college or save for wedding funds or save for retirement, if you make small decisions along the way based on a plan, it gives you the freedom to do those things that you've decided are really important to you. The same way with this lifestyle. We want it to fit you as long as you're pursuing better and you're not going the opposite direction, you're making improvements. That's okay. Give yourself grace to not be perfect. Perfect is not our goal, just better.
That is perfect. And we are out of time. Thank you so much for hopping on. That's it for now.
Go create your best life.
Thanks for hopping on, Kathy. I see you.